Welcome, dear listeners, to the heart of Riverbend, Georgia. Not the bustling Atlanta, mind you, but a place nestled deep in the humid embrace of the South, where time seemed to slow down and life unfolded with the gentle rhythm of a porch swing on a summer evening. Here, the air hung heavy with the sweet perfume of magnolias and the earthy scent of cypress, a comforting blanket that enveloped every quiet street and every familiar face. In Riverbend, folks knew each other by name, by their grandmother's cooking, by the creak of their screen door. Children played under the watchful eyes of elders, their laughter echoing through the trees, a constant, joyful melody in the sleepy symphony of the town. It was a place where peace was a given, where community was a feeling you could taste, thick and sweet like homemade peach cobbler. And in the very heart of this tranquil world lived Lily Mae Jenkins, 7 years old, with eyes that sparkled like dew-kissed leaves at dawn, and a spirit as boundless as the Georgia sky. Lily Mae wasn't just a child. She was a vibrant, tiny force of nature. Her laughter didn't just ring through the house. It filled every nook and cranny, chasing away shadows, breathing life into dusty corners. You'd find her twirling barefoot in the thick green grass of the backyard, a wild, carefree ballerina. She'd chatter to herself while coloring, a colorful stream of consciousness about dragons and princesses, or whisper elaborate, fantastical stories to her collection of well-loved stuffed animals before bedtime. Lily Mae had never known fear of the dark. It was just a canvas for her boundless imagination. Her presence was a constant, joyous hum in the Jenkins household, a melody Savannah, her mother, had come to rely on, cherish, and couldn't imagine living without. But then, one night, the melody stopped. Savannah Jenkins, a woman whose hands healed wounds at the local community hospital by day and whose heart stitched together the fabric of her small family by night, arrived home later than usual. The porch light cast long, dancing shadows, but something felt off. The familiar warmth that usually greeted her was replaced by a chilling stillness, a silence that clung to the walls like a suffocating shroud. Her breath hitched. The front door, usually double-locked, was ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning her in. A cold dread, sharp and sudden, pierced through her exhaustion. "Lily Mae?" she called, her voice trembling, the name swallowed by the oppressive quiet. She searched, frantic, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. Every empty room, every silent corner amplified her fear. Finally, in Lily Mae's small, colorful closet, nestled amongst her princess dresses and superhero costumes, Savannah found her. Curled into a trembling ball, arms wrapped tightly around her knees, Lily Mae was a statue of terror. Her eyes, usually so bright, were wide and vacant, staring at something Savannah couldn't see, reflecting a horror Savannah couldn't comprehend. She reached for her daughter, pulled her close, whispered reassurances into her hair, but there was no response, no comforting murmur, no playful sigh, just that vacant stare, that chilling silence. The police arrived, their flashing lights an intrusive, garish contrast to the peaceful night. Detective Marcus Hayes, a man whose weary eyes held a deep understanding of human suffering, led the investigation. They scoured the house, looking for the usual signs, a forced entry, a missing item, a trace, anything. But there was nothing. No broken windows, no footprints on the floor, no overturned furniture, nothing stolen, nothing disturbed, no indication that anyone had been inside. The silence in the house was absolute, maddening. After hours, with no tangible evidence, the officers left, their faces etched with a kind of quiet helplessness. Savannah felt a familiar sting, a particular sting that often accompanied interactions with authority when your truth lacked the right kind of proof. It was a feeling many in Riverbend knew too well, the chilling realization that sometimes, when the system couldn't see the scars, it couldn't see the wound. The town, with its gentle rhythm, eventually moved on. Life had to, didn't it? But for Savannah and Lily Mae, time had stopped. Lily Mae wouldn't speak, not a single word, not a whisper, not a sound. Her favorite books remained unopened. Her stuffed animals sat untouched. Warm baths, lullabies, comforting hugs, nothing worked. Her daughter, once a vibrant splash of color, was now a faded sketch, slipping further into silence, further away from the world around her. And for Savannah, a mother whose love was her lifeblood, this terrifying quiet was a daily, unbearable echo of the night everything changed. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a testament to a trauma too profound for words, and a mother's desperate, rising dread that the nightmare might not be over. The silence in the Jenkins house wasn't just an absence of sound. It was a living, breathing thing, heavy with unspoken fears, and within that suffocating quiet, a new, unsettling ritual began. Savannah first discovered it one morning, her sleep-deprived mind foggy with worry. She'd woken before dawn, a sense of unease pulling at her. Creeping down the hall, she found Lily Mae's bed empty. Her heart leaped into her throat, a cold metallic taste in her mouth. Then she saw her. Lily Mae wasn't tucked away in her closet this time. She was sitting by the window, cross-legged, perfectly still, her small form silhouetted against the pre-dawn glow. Her wide, vacant eyes, just as they had been that night, were fixed on something beyond the glass, staring. Savannah's blood ran cold. She tried to rationalize it. A child's restless sleep, a lingering nightmare. But this wasn't restlessness. This was a silent vigil. Every night after that, Savannah would check, and every night, more often than not, she'd find Lily Mae at that window. Sometimes she'd just gently lead her back to bed. Other times she'd sit beside her, holding her close, staring out into the oppressive darkness with her, a silent prayer forming on her lip. What did Lily Mae see? What was she watching for? The questions gnawed at Savannah, growing into a terrifying certainty. Someone or something was still out there. The feeling began to seep into Savannah's own skin, a prickle at the back of her neck when she was alone in the kitchen, a shadow that seemed to move just at the edge of her vision. The softest, almost imperceptible scuff outside the house late at night, making her jump, her breath catching in her throat. She found herself double-checking locks, not once but 3, 4, 5 times before bed. Curtains were drawn tightly, every light in the house left on until the last possible moment. Once she discovered the front gate, which she meticulously locked every evening, standing wide open in the morning. Had she forgotten, or had someone slipped in? The police had dismissed her initial fears as stress-induced paranoia once the active investigation ceased. "No signs of forced entry, ma'am," they'd told her, their voices professional, polite, but dismissive. Sometimes a child's imagination can just run wild after an incident, but Savannah knew this wasn't imagination. This was dread, chilling and real. She was a nurse. She believed in evidence, in diagnoses, in logical progression. But what do you do when the most terrifying evidence is in your daughter's silent eyes, and the threat is an unseen shadow? This was the devastating reality for so many, especially for those in communities where a mother's instinct might be dismissed, where fear could be seen as hysteria. Savannah was fighting a ghost, and the world seemed to expect her to just move on. But a mother doesn't move on when her child is broken. Just as the well of her hope began to run dry, a faint flicker appeared. Detective Marcus Hayes, the same weary-eyed detective from that first night, called. He hadn't forgotten. "Ms. Jenkins," his voice was quiet, almost hesitant. "Something about your daughter's case. It stayed with me." He visited, sat on her worn sofa, and listened. Truly listened. Savannah, her voice raw with exhaustion and fear, poured out everything. Lily Mae's silence, the nightly vigils at the window, the unsettling feeling of being watched, the open gate. Hayes just nodded, his gaze unwavering, taking it all in. "Sometimes," he said, his voice low, "words aren't the only answer, especially for trauma. Have you ever considered other ways to help a child feel safe again?" Savannah stared at him, her mind a blank. Other ways? He wasn't talking about more therapists, she knew. His eyes held a hint of something deeper, something outside the usual police protocol. It was a lifeline thrown when she thought she was drowning. "I'm willing to try anything, detective," she whispered, her voice barely audible. And just like that, a seed was planted, a desperate, almost unimaginable thought, but a thought nonetheless. Maybe, just maybe, an unconventional path was the only way back to her daughter. Maybe healing, in Lily Mae's case, wouldn't come from conversation, but from something entirely different, something wordless. The flicker of hope Detective Hayes had ignited became a tiny, burning ember in Savannah's heart. Other ways. The words echoed in her mind, a stark contrast to the sterile, inconclusive reports from the police. She began to research, late into the night, fueled by lukewarm coffee and a mother's desperate love. She read about play therapy, art therapy, music therapy, and then she stumbled upon something that resonated deeper than anything else: the power of animal-assisted, specifically the profound bond between children with trauma and service dogs. Animals, she learned, had a way of reaching people when words failed. They offered unconditional companionship, a non-judgmental presence, and a sense of security that humans, with all their complexities, sometimes couldn't provide. For a child like Lily Mae, trapped in a cage of silence, a dog could be a bridge back to the world, a silent confidant, a furry anchor in a sea of fear. It was a long shot, a leap of faith, but Savannah knew with a certainty that settled deep in her bones that this was their path. This was her last, best hope to help Lily Mae find her way back, to reconnect with the vibrant spirit that had once filled her home. The center Savannah found wasn't far, tucked away on the outskirts of a neighboring county, a serene sanctuary called the Haven. It was a sprawling facility surrounded by quiet woods, with wide sun-dappled training areas and a gentle hush that seemed to soothe the soul. Inside, she met Dr. Alana Vance, a woman whose calm demeanor and kind eyes immediately put Savannah at ease. Dr. Vance was the director, her reputation for connecting children with their perfect canine partners preceding her. She listened patiently to Savannah's story, her gaze unwavering, understanding. Then came the moment of truth. Dr. Vance led them to an outdoor training area where a magnificent German Shepherd was patiently waiting. He was immense, a towering presence of muscle and grace, his fur the color of burnished copper. A long, jagged scar, a testament to battles fought and dangers faced, ran along his left flank. This was Zeus, a retired canine officer. Dr. Vance explained his story: injured in the line of duty, protecting his handler during a dangerous standoff, retired early but with a spirit too active and a heart too big to simply lie around. He'd found a new purpose, a new calling, helping the most vulnerable. There was a powerful symbolism in that, Savannah thought, a battle-scarred animal helping a broken child. Both had faced their own traumas, now finding solace in each other's presence. Lily Mae, usually frozen in the presence of strangers, stood still, her small hand clutching Savannah's jeans. Zeus, however, didn't rush. He moved with an almost ethereal gentleness for such a large creature, approaching Lily Mae slowly, his tail giving a soft exploratory wag. He lowered his massive head to her level, his dark eyes intelligent and calm meeting hers. And then it happened. Lily Mae, with a hesitation that stretched into an eternity for Savannah, slowly, almost imperceptibly, lifted her small hand. Savannah's breath hitched in her throat, her heart pounding a frantic drum against her ribs. Zeus leaned into her touch, his warm breath brushing against Lily Mae's palm, and as her fingers, timidly at first, then with a sudden rush of courage, curled into his thick, soft fur, a wave of profound relief washed over Savannah. It was the first time, the very first time since that terrifying night, that Lily Mae had willingly reached out, connected, engaged with anything beyond herself. Savannah could feel the tightening in her own throat, the hot sting of tears that finally, uncontrollably, began to fall. It was a silent, desperate weeping, a release of weeks of pent-up fear and despair. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Savannah saw it, a tiny, fragile flicker of hope rekindling in the quiet, humid air of Riverbend. The silence wasn't quite as absolute anymore. It was still there, but now it held the promise of a paw. And the long, arduous journey of healing for both Lily Mae and Savannah had finally begun. The arrival of Zeus truly had brought a fragile peace back into the Jenkins home. The heavy silence that had suffocated them for weeks began to lift, replaced by the soft padding of Zeus's paws, the gentle sighs of Lily May as she leaned against his warm body. For the first time since that terrible night, Lily May was sleeping through the night, not waking to stare out the window. Savannah would find her curled beside Zeus on the living room rug, her small hand often resting on his scarred flank, tracing the jagged line as if understanding a secret language only they shared. The laughter hadn't returned, not yet, but there were tiny, hopeful signs, a soft smile as Zeus nudged her hand, a contented sigh as she buried her face in his fur. Savannah, exhausted but buoyed by this new hope, would watch them, a cautious optimism blooming in her chest. She knew healing wasn't a straight line, a sudden cure, but a winding path of small victories. This, she believed, was one of them. Then, one moonless night, the silence shattered, not with a crash, but with a sound far more primal, far more terrifying, a low, guttural growl that vibrated through the floorboards and clawed its way into Savannah's sleep. It wasn't the playful rumble of a happy dog. This was a sound of deep-seated menace. A warning. Savannah's eyes snapped open, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She bolted upright, straining to hear. The growl came again, louder this time, followed by the faint rustling of fur. "Zeus!" Fear gripping her, Savannah slipped out of bed, her bare feet silent against the cool wood floor. She crept down the hallway, her breath catching in her throat, until she reached Lily May's bedroom door. The scene that greeted her froze her to the spot. Lily May was at the window again, just as she had been before Zeus, a tiny, motionless silhouette against the inky blackness. But this time, she wasn't alone. Zeus stood beside her, rigid, his entire body tense, his fur bristling along his spine, a low, menacing rumble still vibrating in his chest. His gaze, fixed outside, was pure, predatory focus. Savannah's eyes followed his line of sight, and there, at the very edge of their yard near the old oak tree, was a shadow, not just a patch of darkness, but a figure, standing still, watching. A cold wave of primal terror washed over Savannah, turning her blood to ice. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't paranoia. He was back. Acting purely on instinct, Savannah lunged for the light switch, flooding the room with blinding light. The figure at the edge of the yard flinched. For a split second, a heart-stopping eternity, he hesitated, caught in the sudden illumination, and in that terrifying, fleeting moment, Savannah saw him. Not just a shape, not just a shadow, but a man. His face, obscured by distance and the harsh light, was indistinct, but she saw a flash of something on his hand, a glint. Before she could truly register it, he turned and vanished into the deeper shadows of the trees, swallowed by the night. Zeus, now a furious, barking sentinel, lunged at the window, straining against some unseen barrier, his growls echoing the terror in Savannah's soul. Lily May, still silent, flinched, pulling back from the window as if burned. Savannah didn't hesitate. Her fingers, trembling, flew to her phone, dialing Detective Hayes. He arrived quickly, his face grim as he surveyed the empty yard. "No footprints, no signs of trespass," he murmured, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The familiar frustration, the helplessness of a lack of evidence, threatened to overwhelm Savannah again. But then she remembered Lily May. She found her daughter in the living room, curled tightly beside Zeus, her small fingers clutching a crayon, and on the paper, Lily May had drawn it, a picture of her and Zeus at the window, the outline of their yard, and the old oak tree, and next to the tree, a figure, a shadow, just as it had been. But this time, Lily May had drawn a hand, and on that hand, clear as day, was a long, jagged scar. Detective Hayes took the drawing, his eyes widening. He studied it, then looked at Lily May, then back at the drawing. A profound quiet settled over the room, broken only by Zeus's soft breathing. Then Hayes murmured, almost to himself, "She remembers." Savannah gasped. It wasn't just a shadow. It wasn't just a general fear. Lily May had seen him. She had remembered a distinct, horrifying detail that could tie the lurking shadow to a real person. The truth, buried deep beneath the trauma, was starting to whisper its way to the surface. It was a terrifying revelation, a horrifying plot twist that tightened the knot of fear in Savannah's stomach. but it was also a desperate, undeniable sliver of hope. Lily May's silence wasn't a void, it was a vault, slowly, agonizingly beginning to open. And the lesson Savannah was learning was brutally clear. Healing sometimes means confronting the very nightmare you've tried to bury, and that confrontation, she knew, was only just beginning. The drawing of the scarred hand had opened a floodgate, not of words, but of images. In the days that followed, Lily May, with Zeus ever by her side, continued to draw. Each new picture was like a piece of a terrifying puzzle falling into place, painstakingly rendered by a child's trembling hand, guided by a memory too vivid to be suppressed. First came the hand with its jagged scar, then a drawing of a van. It was parked near the curb, just like the one Savannah had seen that fleeting night, slightly tilted as if parked hastily. The details were disturbing in their accuracy, the specific shape, a smudge of dirt on the back door. But the most chilling detail, the one that made Savannah's breath catch in her throat, was what Lily May had drawn inside. A shape, a person, with a splash of red crayon on the sleeve of a jacket, the exact same shade she had used to color the scar. Lily May hadn't just seen him. She had been inside that van. She had been with him. The implications were horrifying, confirming Savannah's deepest fears. Her child had been closer to the monster than she had ever dared to imagine. This wasn't just a shadow anymore. It was a ghost of a memory, now sharp and undeniable. Detective Hayes, his face grim, arrived immediately after Savannah sent him a photo of the latest drawing. He recognized the van's details instantly. "This is disturbingly accurate, Ms. Jenkins," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the drawing, "especially that mark." Then he delivered a chilling revelation, one that stretched the tendrils of their local nightmare across state lines. "We have a cold case out of North Carolina. Similar circumstances. A man in a van, a little girl, went missing from her backyard, no signs of forced entry, no evidence left behind." Savannah's stomach clenched. "Did they find her?" she whispered, dread washing over her. Hayes's silence was the answer. This wasn't just about Lily May anymore. This was about a pattern, a predator, a monster who had done this before. The stakes had just soared beyond anything Savannah had ever conceived. The hunt began. Hayes put out an immediate alert for a van matching Lily May's description, pulling every old cold case file he could find. Savannah lived on a knife edge, every shadow a threat, every creak of the house a potential harbinger of evil. She slept, if you could call it that, with Zeus's head resting on her leg, listening to his steady breathing, listening for anything outside the window. Days bled into nights, the tension a constant companion. Then, one dawn, Zeus lifted his head, a soft scuffing sound coming from outside. Savannah peered through the blinds, her heart hammering. The security camera, installed just days earlier, flickered to life on her phone, and there he was. Not a shadow this time, but a figure, distinct, walking away from the house, melting into the pre-dawn gloom. "He wasn't just standing there, Miss Jenkins," Hayes confirmed over the phone minutes later, his voice tight. "He was looking for something, or someone. He was testing you." The breakthrough came hours later. Hayes called, his voice tight with controlled urgency. "We found the van, Ms. Jenkins, 2 towns over, registered to a Carl Denton. Delivery driver, petty theft, trespassing on his record." Savannah's mind reeled. A name. A real name. "And his hand?" she breathed, the question hanging in the air. Hayes's voice dropped to a low, grim tone. "His hand has a long, jagged scar." Carl Denton. The name tasted like ash in Savannah's mouth. This was him, the shadow, the fear, the man who had stolen her daughter's voice. And then the true horror of his pattern unfolded. The van, the detailed drawings. They led Detective Hayes to a secluded cabin deep in the woods, hours away from River Bend. Zeus, who had been brought along, immediately became agitated, his low growls guiding the officers to a hidden staircase, leading down into a damp, stale-smelling space. And there, chained in the shadows, was another small girl. Emma Davis. Alive. Savannah received the call from Hayes, the relief of Emma's rescue clashing violently with a fresh wave of terror. Emma Davis, a life saved. But Savannah also understood the chilling implication. If Lily May hadn't drawn those pictures, if Zeus hadn't provided that silent, instinctual confirmation, Emma might have been lost forever. And Carl Denton, the collector, as Hayes grimly called him later, would have continued his terrifying pattern. This wasn't just about justice for Lily May. This was about saving lives. And the silent language between a brave little girl and a battle-scarred dog had just done something the law on its own couldn't. It had unmasked a predator, and now he would face the music. The day of the trial dawned with a heavy, oppressive heat, even for Riverbend. The air in the courtroom, however, was colder, thick with anticipation. Every seat was packed, journalists from regional news outlets scribbling furiously, the whispers of the townspeople a low, anxious hum. The case of Carl Denton, the collector, had gripped Riverbend and beyond, a chilling reminder that evil could lurk in the most unassuming corners. Savannah sat rigid, her arm wrapped protectively around Lily May, whose small fingers were curled so tightly into Zeus's thick fur that her knuckles were white. Zeus, a silent, majestic sentinel, lay beside her, his powerful presence a calm anchor in the storm of human emotion. He was more than a service dog. He was a guardian, a silent witness, and Lily May's last line of defense in a world that had tried to steal everything from her. Carl Denton sat across the courtroom, initially impassive, a mask of feigned innocence on his face. But Savannah, with her nurse's eye for subtle tells, noticed the tightness in his fingers as he gripped the table, the barely perceptible flicker of his jaw. He was a man fighting to keep a facade, but underneath, the cracks were beginning to show. Prosecutor Elena Rhodes, a woman known for her sharp intellect and unwavering pursuit of justice, delivered a chilling opening statement. She meticulously detailed Danton's meticulous stalking, his calculated planning, the abduction of Emma Davis, a pattern of depravity that sent shivers down the spines of those listening. Denton's defense attorney, a slick, confident figure, immediately launched into his counterattack. He tried to discredit the evidence, dismissing the grainy security footage as inconclusive, and, most infuriatingly, Lily May's meticulously drawn pictures as nothing more than a child's vivid imagination running wild after a traumatic event. Savannah felt a surge of cold fury, but she held her breath. She had seen Danton's face that night, the fear in his eyes when the light hit him. She had seen the raw terror in Emma Davis's eyes when they found her. She knew the truth. Then came the moment everyone held their breath for. Lily May. She walked to the stand, her small hand never leaving Zeus's fur. The judge, an old man with kind but discerning eyes, allowed Zeus to sit beside her, acknowledging the dog's crucial role in her fragile state. A pin-drop silence descended upon the courtroom, the air thick with tension. Elena Rhodes approached gently, her voice soft, asking simple, direct questions that Lily May could answer with a nod or a shake of her head. Lily May responded with agonizing slowness, her small head barely moving. Then Elena's voice hardened slightly. "Lily May," she asked, pointing a hand towards the defendant's table, "is the man who hurt you, is he in this courtroom today?" Every eye swiveled to Lily May. Her small hand, which had been gripping Zeus's fur, slowly, agonizingly lifted, and with a movement that seemed to take an eternity, she pointed. Her tiny finger, trembling almost imperceptibly, pointed directly at Carl Denton. The defense attorney immediately erupted. "Objection! Leading the witness! A child is easily swayed." But the judge, his gaze fixed on Lily May's unwavering finger, simply said, "Overruled." Elena's next question hung in the air, a whisper that carried the weight of the entire case. "Lily May, did this man ever talk to you?" Lily May's hand twitched, a subtle, almost unnoticeable movement. But Zeus, ever vigilant, understood. His ears snapped forward, his powerful muscles tensed beneath his fur, and a low guttural growl, deep and vibrating, rumbled from his chest. It wasn't an aggressive growl, not a bark of attack, but a sound of profound recognition, of fierce protection. The courtroom collectively gasped. Carl Denton, who had remained impassive, suddenly stiffened, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the table. His eyes, for the first time, darted nervously toward Zeus, then quickly away. Zeus knew. Detective Hayes, called back to the stand, confirmed it. "Dogs don't forget," he stated, his voice steady. "They react to threats, to fear, to familiarity. That growl, Your Honor, was confirmation." Alina Rhodes then turned to Denton, her voice cutting through the stunned silence like a knife. "Mr. Denton," she stated, "the child identified you. The dog identified you. Will you plead guilty?" Denton's composure, so carefully maintained, finally cracked. Sweat beaded on his forehead, his jaw clenched, and his eyes, for the first time, held a flicker of desperate fear. He knew he was caught. The next day, the court reconvened. Carl Denton, unable to escape the silent, unwavering testimony of a broken child and her loyal dog, changed his plea. "Guilty," he muttered, his voice barely audible. A collective, shuddering sigh of relief swept through the courtroom, mingling with quiet sobs of grief and tears of vindication. Justice, in its own slow, arduous way, had settled into place. And in the midst of the courtroom's tumultuous release, a tiny voice, fragile as a butterfly's wing, drifted up from beside Zeus. Savannah's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't imagined it. Lily May, for the very first time in months, had whispered, "Thank you." It was a soft, barely audible sound, a test of her own voice, a first step back from the terrifying precipice of silence. It was the echo of justice, resounding not in a judge's gavel, but in a child's reclaimed whisper. Carl Denton, the collector, was sentenced to life without parole. The gavel's final thud echoed not just through the courtroom, but across Riverbend, a solemn declaration of justice served. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief, then, slowly, hesitantly, began to move on, seeking to reclaim the peace that had been stolen. But for Savannah, the true aftermath wasn't just about the verdict. It was about the lingering shadows in her home, in Lily May's eyes. The house no longer felt haunted by an unseen presence. The fear of a lurking predator finally banished. Security cameras remained, a silent vigilance. But the chilling ritual of Lily May staring out the window had ceased. Yet a different kind of quiet remained. A quiet that spoke of a voice still trapped, a little girl still Lily May still clung to Zeus, her faithful shadow. He was her constant. His calm presence was an unspoken reassurance, his warm fur a physical comfort in a world that had betrayed her. Their days settled into a new rhythm, one dictated by Zeus's needs and Lily May's tentative steps towards normalcy. She would painstakingly fill his food bowl, her small hands steadying it, then carefully brush his thick fur, a silent ritual of care. They would nap together, Zeus's soft snores a comforting counterpoint to Lily May's quiet breathing. This unspoken bond, forged in fear and strengthened by loyalty, was the bedrock of her slow, arduous journey back. And through it all, there were the drawings. Lily May never stopped drawing. In the beginning, they had been stark, unsettling images of shadows, of dark figures, of a terrifying van. But as the days turned into weeks, as the memory of Denton was slowly sealed away by justice, the canvas of Lily May's art began to shift. The dark lines softened, the colors brightened. The shadows gave way to light. There were still drawings of Zeus, always Zeus, but now he was playing, chasing butterflies, his tail a joyful blur. Then a drawing of her home, filled with sunlight. And finally, one morning, Savannah found a new drawing taped to the refrigerator. It was Lily May herself, standing beside Zeus, her hand buried in his fur. But this time, Lily May was smiling, a real, genuine smile, rendered in crayon. It was a profound lesson in the silent language of healing. When words fail, art, movement, or the gentle presence of another can become the voice of the soul, slowly painting a path back to wholeness. Savannah was on the porch one afternoon, watching Lily May and Zeus in the backyard. The sun was warm, the air still, a rare moment of perfect peace. Lily May was throwing a tattered tennis ball for Zeus, a quiet game between them. Savannah felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in months, a cautious breath of true tranquility. And then it happened. A sound, soft, quiet, barely there but unmistakable, laughter. Lily May's laughter. It wasn't the boisterous peal of before, but a soft, bubbling sound, like tiny bells born from a playful tug-of-war with Zeus. Savannah's breath hitched, tears stinging her eyes. It was a sound she had feared she would never hear again. Lily May turned, her eyes bright, then bent down, burying her face in Zeus's fur. "Good boy," she whispered. Savannah's heart pounded, a frantic drum in her chest. She hadn't imagined it. Her little girl, her silent Lily May, had spoken. Lily May stood up, slowly, deliberately, and walked toward Savannah, her small hands fidgeting at her sides. Savannah knelt, leveling herself with her daughter, waiting, holding her breath, her throat closing against the sob that threatened to break free. Lily May hesitated for a long, agonizing moment, her gaze fixed on her mother's face, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. Then, almost imperceptibly, she whispered, "I missed you." The words shattered something inside Savannah, something that had been brittle and fragile for too long. She pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her tight, burying her face in Lily May's hair, her own voice thick with emotion. "I missed you too, baby," she murmured, feeling Lily May exhale against her. A slow, steady release, as if letting go of something heavy, something she had carried for too long. And then finally, completely, her daughter came back to her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would still be nightmares, whispers of shadows in the dark, memories that would sting and ache. The scars, both visible and invisible, would remain, etched into the quiet spaces between their days. But they would face them together, because now Lily May was no longer trapped in silence. She had found her voice again, born from the unwavering love of her mother, the silent strength of a battle-scarred dog, and her own unbreakable spirit. She had fought her way back from the depths of despair, and she was never, ever letting her voice go again. If Lily May's journey speaks to your own battles, your own moments of silence that needed to be broken, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more stories of resilience, unexpected heroes, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Check out our other videos for more gripping narratives, and don't forget to share this story with anyone who might find strength, hope, or a guiding light in the symphony of healing.